Hey guys, this is Eric with CrossFit Encino.
And Maury with the Performance Lab.
Today we're going to do a video on the 4 movements that you can do to most quickly address, reduce or remove sciatic pain, which is the hip pain that you feel that somewhat feels like it's in your lower back and shoots down your leg. So we're going to demo a few movements, and then after we do these 4 movements, we're going to stay around for about 2 minutes and explain why we chose those movements, what body parts we're trying to affect, and how they're going to help you get better. So, all right.
So hop right into so the first exercise I'm going to have Eric do is going to be a Piriformis and Thoracic extension. So he's going to go and get some type of a chair. You can do this on like a bed or something like that too. I'd actually prefer him to be a little bit higher. We just have him in the chair just because it's the best kind of demo tool here. And then from this position, so we'd be stretching out. If you're feeling it on the right side, you'd be stretching that hip, all right? So right hip pain, you stretch out, you have your right leg up. Left hip pain, you'll have your left hip up. And then from here, you're gonna take the opposite arm and you're gonna rotate away. And what that does is that makes it so he could stretch out this entire line here and also strengthen his thoracic rotation. A lot of times what happens is that you lose the ability to rotate in your thoracic spine as a part of having that hip tightness. And so we want to stretch it out and strengthen. And for people that can, we'll have you go ahead and hold a dumbbell, maybe 5 pounds to 10 pounds. He has a 10-pound dumbbell right here because he's a pretty strong guy. And he's continuing really the same movement. All right?
Do the other side if you need the other side.
Yes.
All right.
I'd recommend probably doing like 12 to 15 of those, like 3 sets, and that would be perfect.
Okay, this is daily?
Yeah, daily.
Okay.
Probably twice a day.
Cool.
Before you go to work, after you go to work.
We'll explain again, we're going to explain the movement at the end a little bit more, like what body parts and why. The second movement we're going to do is going to be a breathing drill.
Yeah.
Okay. So Maury's going to demo a diaphragm activation tool that we use called a 90-90 position or a dead bug. And basically what he's going to do is he's going to put his legs up on anything, bench, chair, whatever. The idea is to take gravity away. And then from here, he's going to press his lower back actively into the ground, engage his core, and breathe in and out through his nose, practicing and trying to feel lateral or sideways outside expansion in the belly and take the breath away from the chest. So we're going to visualize our breath going into our pelvis, thinking about the belly expanding, not the chest. Okay? We recommend you spend about 2 minutes a day here as you start to, practice breathing mechanics. Breathing mechanics are overall one of the most important things that we can do to help address a wide range of dysfunctions. So it's not just sciatic. So that's a dead bug. We're going to show you a progression on this in a few minutes. I'm going to demo the next movement that Maury will explain.
While doing that with 2 guys, make sure that you're getting an even amount of pressure in your body. So like when I was doing that, I felt a little bit of unevenness in my left side, and so I really tried to concentrate on breathing into the left side of my stomach, and that's the type of imbalance that you want to try to fix.
It's just kind of a good position to start to get more awareness.
Yep. So the next one's going to be a QL. So your QL basically stabilizes in your spine, and then also a glute med exercise. And so the idea here is these muscles really work synergistically, and so if we can stabilize in the spine, and then again, so right leg pain, right leg is up during this movement here, and now you're just holding and it's getting correct abduction. So a lot of times what you'll end up doing if you have sciatic pain is you do too much hip external rotation, yeah, exactly, and you don't want to do that. So make sure those hips stay stacked right on top of each other and you're holding, all right? If this is too difficult to just hold, if you had this pain for a good amount of time, you can regress this movement by putting the knee down, still holding in the same position, making sure the body's straight, and you're feeling it here in like the lower part of your abdomen and also in your glutes on the side.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot easier with the knee down. So if you feel like there's balance issues or rotation, then do it with the knee down.
Yeah, and it's a good way to maybe start with the knee down and then progress up. If you can already go with the leg up and get that pretty successfully, then keep on going at that, and you'll get really the fastest response that way. And it was all about trying to make it the quickest that we can. But we also want to make sure you're safe. So if you're doing it wrong, then you're not going to get the same amount of benefit. So you have to make sure you're keeping that hip stacked on top of each other and your spine straight and everything is in the right position.
How many sets and reps do you think of that?
I would say you'd probably hold that for about 40 to 60 seconds. Okay. 3 sets, same type of thing. So altogether, this will probably, the whole exercise program, maybe 10 minutes at the most. And it'll be before and after work. But there's one more exercise.
We'll talk about some creative ways to put this into your day as well, maybe.
Yeah.
The last exercise we're going to do is going to be another, like a progressed breathing drill. So Maury's going to go down, lay on the floor, and this is called practicing posterior pelvic tilts. So what he's going to do is going to lay back down on the floor, this time feet on the floor, not on the bench. He's going to, again, press his lower back into the ground first. Then he's going to take his hips, and if you can imagine his hips as a bucket, he's going to tilt the bottom or the back of the bucket downwards and towards his heels. Squeeze his butt at the same time. I would recommend actually actively touching and testing. He's going to engage his core, so he's going to bring ribs to hips, engage the core, and hold this position for 10 seconds while he breathes through his nose. The way to do this, I recommend doing something like 6 sets of this where you do this in succession. You go for 10 seconds, trying your best to hold the position while you breathe, checking your musculature while you're breathing, because you'll find some of the flaws here will be that the muscles turn off while we breathe. And the whole idea here is to practice maintaining muscular activation while we breathe. Okay? So he's going to do 6 sets of 10 seconds with this, holding that position. In between, when he's resting, he can put his hips down on the floor, kind of shake things out. In the beginning, it will be a little challenging to maintain this, and we'll build it up over time. So those are our 4 movements. We did piriformis stretch with thoracic rotation, so stretching the hip, rotating the spine, so adding range of motion while strengthening or while stretching. Also strengthening the spine. And then we did, what was our second one? We did
the dead bug.
Breathing drills.
Yeah, and then we went into the QL, glute med, and then the last one was that glute max.
So posture really drives dysfunction, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that's going to be a big thing to be focusing on both while standing and then also while sitting. So a big thing, a lot of times when you have sciatica pain
is... We're sitting, actually.
Okay, yeah. If when you're sitting down, if you end up kind of slouching over to one side for a long period of day, I would say that you definitely want to make sure that you're not doing that. Try to be aware of where your spine is for a long period of time. At least try to be mobilizing and moving around a little bit. And then another thing that you want to do when you're actually sitting is make sure that you have good extension all through your spine and your back. And so if you're kind of leaning over, slouching, like how Eric was at first.
Positions on a table like this, you can see what we're doing is creating lots of dominance and activation and tightness, stiffness in the hips.
Exactly.
Or like this, same problem, stiffness in the lower back, all the musculature on the hips are loose.
Yep.
We stand up and all of a sudden we're just like, oh, and our back stays in the shortened position.
Yep.
And so most of the movements we were showing right now are to help remove that kind of over or hyperextension, that lower back lordosis, and get us back into a strong position, right?
Yep. And then another thing too, if you end up noticing you put a little bit more pressure down on one side compared to the other, then just like what he was talking about, the pelvis, anterior, posterior, you can actually get a lateral shift. So one hip will be higher than the other hip, and that will end up putting a lot of pressure on the sciatica nerve as well. So those are both really, really big things to focus on, and I think that everybody will really enjoy this video.